the Henry Miller Memorial Library, where nothing happens. Let's see about that. Well, you were saying that the first book that was published, it was published in English, but in France.
In France, it was published by Obelisk Press in Paris in 1934, and that's when Henry became a well-known author. Before that, he had grew up in Brooklyn, struggled to be a writer for a long time, but in '34 then he got published, and then he was known as a writer and an artist for the rest of his life, and produced a lot of books. And the ones we talked about before that were banned in Paris that caused this big ruckus was a book called Sexes, part of his Rosy Crucifixion trilogy, he calls it.
Oh, it's called Sexes?
Sexes, the book.
Sexes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then the reason this place, I don't know if you want me to talk about why this is here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason that this place is here is that in 1944, Henry came here for a visit and found this coast to be like most of us do. When you come here, you think, my gosh, this is kind of remarkable. And so he did in 44 and decided that this is the place he was going to live. And so he moved here and lived here between 1944 and 62 full time. And then his best friend Emile lived in this house and created this library for Henry.
So he was the founder, his friend was the founder of the library.
Right.
And how did the whole thing started? Like, did he pay something, or how did it become Memorial Library?
He actually just created a non-profit with the help of another organization in Monterey up here, and they helped him to set it up. So he was sitting here by himself for the last 9 years of his life, having receiving people. And then he died in '89 in his turn, and then since then we've taken care of it as a non-profit arts organization.
I saw on your website that you also hold events here. What kind of events exactly?
Over the years, there's been a lot of things going on here over the years. We have writing workshops, we have a film series, we have a music series, and particularly the music series has become very famous because we've had some very, very significant artists play here.
Like
so far, well, the most famous ones would probably be, in today's world, would be Arcade Fire, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Neil Young, from Europe, the XX, a few bands from Sweden that are pretty well known. You can see up in the ceiling some of the posters. Philip Glass, the composer, is an older generation classical composer. Management, Flaming Lips,
Wonderful.
amazing bands, yeah. And part of that is it kind of started with a very famous rock and roller, which is Patti Smith. And she came here and did a benefit for the library, and I think that kind of set the pace. And she did it, and many others have done it, in part because they feel indebted to Henry Miller.
Okay.
That Henry meant a lot to them when they discovered him. And many actually have said that they feel like he has been really instrumental in making them the artists that they are now. So they come and pay homage to Henry.
What about you said something about television series too? Or?
No, film.
Oh, film
series.
Okay, film series.
Yeah, we've done a short film series for 10 years now that we've show here outside on Thursday nights.
Is that every year?
It's been now. This year we're taking a break though. This year is not going to be a series. We're going to do some feature films this year and other film events. But the actual short film series is taking 1 year off.
What is going to be this year then?
Some other films actually we don't know yet. But,
okay. It's not.
But there'll be many things going on here in the summertime. Yeah.
So just to check your website.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as a non-profit, do you actually maintain the library by all those events, by doing the events, or some other ways too?
The events, and then we have this bookstore. you know, so people come in and support us that way. We get some grants for some of the projects.
Okay.
Right now, we're doing a project that's financed through public funding called Big Sur Stories, where we're interviewing like an oral history of this area.
Okay.
Big Sur is a very fascinating place for many reasons, not just the natural, but also the cultural history. So it's part of the cultural history that we're trying to, you know, explore and in some ways also save for the future, because we're recording all those interviews that we're making with people that have lived here or have made Big Sur what it is today.
Yeah, it's a little different culture. You can even feel it just by driving on Highway 101.
Right, right. The main thing, though, here that I'd like to express is that it's this little place here. I feel is its main purpose is to be just relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not be not too much activity. Our goal is actually to do nothing here, and eventually
we read that. Yeah, at the beginning.
We'll be able to afford to do nothing soon, we hope. And you know, that ties into the whole coast here, the whole Big Sur coast, and something that you may be interested in hearing, and I'm sure you may hear, since you're doing, you know, you're going to nice places and talking to people about.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm not sure exactly what thematically you do, but you know, a lot of places in this world today are threatened by overuse. They get loved to death. And like downtown Paris, downtown London.
Too much tourism.
Florence and all these places are really having to deal with how to limit the amount of visitors and how to balance the commercial interests with the actual preservation of an area.
Okay.
And that's what's happening on the coast here. In the last 2 or 3 years, I've been here for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 or 3 years on the Big Sur coast, there have been so many people. And now it's beautiful. This is perfect because this is January, so we're not going to be so crowded. But in this summer and last summer, there were times when this highway was so packed that it was almost dangerous here. So we're dealing with.
But how do you do that? So you want to keep it popular, and you want visitors, and on the other side, you want to limit
exactly
the amount of people.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
We don't know. We don't know yet. But the thing is that the situation now is such that we are going to have to, you know, because there are places in California like Yosemite and Muir Woods and places that have now started to implement ways to regulate the amount of people.
Or maybe some sort of control.
Yeah. So in the future that's going to happen here. The question is, how will it happen? You know, and that's in part also why I think the idea of just kind of symbolizing the idea of the preservation of the lifestyle and the rural and the wild character of this place is part of what our mission is too here.
Maybe more people have to film it and less people will be coming because they're going to be watching it, right?
The trouble is, of course, every time we do this, and every time I have the fantastic rock concerts here, we bring more attention to Big Sur, and more people find out about it. I mean, only 20 years ago, very few people in Sweden where I'm from knew what Big Sur was. Now everyone knows, even in Sweden, you know. So that's a result of this kind of stuff. Music and TV and social media and so on. Yeah.
I mean, even today it's a Super Bowl weekend, and we saw on the road there were so many cars.
Right.
And some people are driving a little bit like crazy just to get the cool spot to take pictures of the ocean.
Right.
Yeah. So even Super Bowl event doesn't stop the tourism.
Right. No, exactly. I know. We'll see tomorrow. It'll be maybe dead at 5 o'clock. or there'll be a lot of people at the various bars here in town where you can watch the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Well, we're wondering, can you also give us a tour of the place a little bit? Or?
Well, yeah, this is Emil's old cabin. He used to have like a little settee here. There's some walls having been taken down since Emil lived here to get this
more
larger
open
room. Yeah.
How did they become friends?
Emil was Emil came from central, actually not too far from Bulgaria, probably. I mean, he never really talked about exactly where he was from, but he had a couple of problems. He was Jewish, and he was an anarchist or a communist. So two strikes against him in some areas of Central Europe at the time.
Okay.
So he escaped and came to the United States in 1921 to New York, and lived there. And I'm not too much history from Emil between 20 and 40, but in 40 he was in New York, in Chicago, worked in a bookstore, and in 41 or 42 he meets Henry Miller in this bookstore.
Okay.
And they become fast friends. He was an admirer of Miller already then. Emil was.
So he knew him.
He knew of him, right. And then they met each other. Henry signs a beautiful copy of The Cosmological Eye, which was the only thing that was legally published in the country at that time. Gives it to him, and then when Henry finds Big Sur in 44, he writes him a letter saying, "You should come to Big Sur. It's paradise." So that's how they became friends. And then Emil became his helper and Man Friday for all of those years that they lived together here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can walk some
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
So this is a nice
Little fireplace.
fireplace. Is that the painting of
This
Henry
is a drawing
Miller?
somebody did of Henry. And
Yeah.
that's a local artist there, Caroline Kleefeld.
Yeah, nice.
Here are the movie posters from Henry and June, the famous film that was made based on Anais Nin's diary.
Oh my God, I read the story about his wife June.
In
and
Paris?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Paris, and he didn't take it well.
Right, right.
I guess that inspired him to write
Yeah, yeah.
his masterpieces.
Right. Partly.
Yeah.
The whole book, The Rosy Crucifixion, is really about June. You know, so it's true. It was a big deal for him. And the affair that Anais and June had, it was of course difficult for Henry to deal with.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But the film is pretty good, and it was done in 1991 at the centennial of Henry's birth. He was born 1891. And that's a poster from Philip Press and Wendy Sutter in 2008. They came and did a benefit concert for the library. It was one of the finest days ever here at the library.
And what is going on with the hanging bills?
It just started, and then it just became a thing. People give us all the time.
They just put them themselves, or they give them to you?
Yeah, give them to me. We put them up.
Yeah.
From all over the world.
And why are the books hanging like that too?
I don't know. It's just because it's fun. I
'Cause
think
it's cool.
we have these are international editions, foreign translations.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang up a lot more because Henry is translated into 40 different languages at least, and so this is like the international section, I guess. So the currency and foreign translation.
You sell all kinds of other books,
Other
not
books,
only
yeah.
Henry
No,
Miller's.
right.
Do you have certain authors that you pick, or?
Yeah, or that's what we like.
Yeah.
You know, and what the staff here likes. It's like a little temple here.
Yeah, definitely cozy.
Yeah.
It's just lovely. Yeah, it is.
Where there was a window there, and there was a window over there. Yeah.
And he just lived in that cute cottage, like in the middle of Big Sur.
Right.
And more paintings.
There's a
of him.
painting by Catherine Foster, who became well known suddenly when Andy Warhol died, because Andy had a lot of her paintings in his private collection. But that was donated to the library back in the 90s sometimes. And we see all these photographs along here.
Yeah.
Are photographs of different sort of California artists and bohemians from the 60s and 70s and 50s. And like I said, things go up and down on these walls. It changes all the time.
Oh, okay. So how many people work here in the library?
Three of us now.
Okay. The only part I really got confused was like, okay, his books were banned in France or in the States? Because I read that they were banned in the States.
Yeah, and in France. And in Scandinavia and all over, in fact, Spain. A lot of countries had it, was banned. And people forget that everybody thinks it's always that America was a bad place where everybody got banned. It's not true.
Yeah.
The United States is not the only place. In fact, like I said, France had him banned. So The whole thing, though, happened in the late 50s, not just in the United States, but all over Europe as well, where suddenly the walls came down and the freedom to publish whatever you wanted to pretty much opened up. Except, of course, not behind the Iron Curtain. That was closed until 1991.
Right.
Yeah. So Miller was not read, or I mean, it's translated, for instance, into Russian long time ago, but it was absolutely under the underground until 1991. Yeah.
Okay.
Same, that beautiful translation into Czech was not read really until the wall came down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I read some of his lines in the books, it didn't even seem like it's anything that inappropriate. Like all of the literature that's out there now cannot compare.
You're going to blush now.
Okay, read it.
I'm not going to read it loud. I can't read it. I can't even read it loud in here.
Am I blushing already?
Here, this is the.
Which one is this?
This is Tropic of Cancer. This is the book that was on trial.
Oh.
So you can imagine these kind of fat lawyers in 1963 when this was on trial, right?
Yeah.
In the courtroom. So they're reading out loud in the courtroom to explain why this is such a bad book.
Ew.
And this is what he reads. You can just read quietly for yourself.
Can you read it for us? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think everybody can read it anyway.
Okay, I'll read it. At night, when I look at Boris's goatee lying on the pillow, I get hysterical.
Maybe we started the piano.
That's just a piano that ended up getting beyond repair.
Yeah.
So it was. So now it's just sort of like a little piece of musical instrument that's slowly deteriorating out here in the outdoors. I think it looks kind of good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's just very interesting piece, yeah. Can I sit on that?
Sure. Henry Miller himself, he played the piano a lot, and his first wife was a pianist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just enter, and that's what you see, a piano outdoors.
Right. This piece of wood here that's under the tarp, I'm going to open it in a second, comes from a tree that grew about 15 meters that way, that had a 9-foot diameter at the bottom, and it was 230 feet tall, and it grew up in that direction. And on December 2nd, 2012, in the morning, 9:30 in the morning, it fell that direction.
Yeah.
And just crushed everything in its wake.
Oof.
So from that tree, we cut up and created these large slabs. So these are incredibly unique pieces of wood. Oops, sorry.
No, I was trying to help.
And then it doesn't look as good as it does, of course, when it's really finished. But you can see some of the pattern in this. And it's when you polish this up, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, no, it is beautiful.
Yeah. So then we sold this. I've got $230,000.
What?
Yeah.
You sold something like this for $230,000?
There were $10,000 each for these.
Why? Oh, why do they cost so much?
Because it's old growth redwood,
Uh-huh.
and it has like I said, you can't really see it because it has darkened now because it's been here laying here for too long. But it's old growth redwood. It has a pattern in it that is extremely unusual. See all that pattern in there?
Yeah.
When you polish this up, it is just extraordinary what comes out. So this is like a piece of art. You cannot find a piece like this anywhere else on Earth. And it comes from Big Sur. It comes from the Henry Miller Library. It has all this provenance. And so some very famous woodworkers from East Coast, from Los Angeles, came and bought pieces so that they can make things for their clientele of these, based from these pieces of wood. So that's what happened. People just wanted to have a piece of this incredible tree.
Maybe to do furniture? Or?
To do a big conference table or dining room table. If you have a big enough dining room, you can have this as a table.
Yeah. Nice,
Yeah.
nice idea.
Yeah.
So you just knew about it, you saw the fallen tree, and you
Yep.
knew
Yeah.
that you can
Cut it
make
up.
money of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It was perfect.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple of you know, people who are woodcutters came, and we cut it up in sections and then sliced it like this, like you slice cheese almost, you know. But those are the shoes.
This
then-
is so original.
Yeah, and it really is. If you look at this, these are pants there, right?
Yeah.
A pair of pants.
And they're from Stew too, yeah?
Yeah, and then the shoes, and then the shirt,
I would never know. I was
Yeah.
looking at it from over there, and
and then his hands. And he's just basically leaving his bodily belongings. And Smile at the Foot of the Ladder, you know, is one of Henry's books.
oh, that's
Yeah,
why.
and I think he calls it Smile at the Foot of the Ladder.
Yeah, and there is a jaw here, right?
Yeah, his dentures.
Oh.
I guess his loose teeth or something. Yeah. Toothbrush.
A wonderful piece.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't like this because people feel like it's disrespecting Jesus, but basically what it is wire and computer monitors, and then the piece was made in 1999. If you remember the Y2K, you're too young maybe, but everybody was afraid that when they shifted from 1999 to 2000, that all computers.
I remember.
All computers
yeah.
is going to freak out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what this was called, Y2K. Yeah.
Everyone comes here sooner or later.
Yeah. Partly because Big Sur is people do visit this place, you know, and people who have an interest in literature, an interest in maybe some deeper aspect of the place,
Yeah.
like writers and people who, readers, of course they stop here. So many people come in here and have a cup of coffee and, you know, yeah.
Celebrities, actors,
yeah.
singers.
Yeah.
Have you met many of them then?
Yeah.
Yeah?
yeah.
Who's your favorite?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of them, but one of the personal interests that I've had for many years is the story of, which has nothing to do with anything here, but it's the story of the Bounty. Have you heard of that? The mutiny of the Bounty?
No.
It's a famous mutiny that happened on an English ship back in 1779, so a long time ago.
Okay.
But it's a famous thing, and it's also become part of film history because there are many films have been done about that particular mutiny. The first one with Errol Flynn, the second one with Clark Gable, the third one with Marlon Brando, and one with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
Anyway, so Anthony Hopkins was one person I always wanted to meet. So that's probably one of my favorite encounters here and he was such a nice man, and we had a nice conversation about our mutual interest in the Bounty story.
So Anthony Hopkins is maybe your most favorite visitor.
Right. Yeah. But you know, we're here on the California coast, so like I said, everybody comes here sooner or later. Yeah.
So he just sits with you and you guys chat.
Yeah. I had one time an actress. I don't really want to mention names, you know.
That's okay.
Yeah. But she's a very famous actress, and she came in here and hung out for a little while, and she bought a beautiful book, and we had a nice conversation, and suddenly a group of 15, 20 people came in, and they were actually stalkers, or I don't know what you call it, groupies.
What?
They followed her around. And when she saw them come, she suddenly just changed her whole expression and took off with her husband, I think, or boyfriend, and they drove away. But these people are actually following her around.
Like 15 at the same time
Yes.
came here?
Yeah. They traveled in two little vans. They knew that she was staying in one of the hotels here, and they were just parked outside and then followed her wherever she was going.
Crazy?
Crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I read on your website that you're going to have fashion show here? Where is it?
So actually,
also?
the fashion show has been here for 5 years now.
Okay.
But this year we're moving it to another place because
Oh, okay.
it's not big enough here. It's one of the most popular events on the coast.
Where is it going to be?
It's going to be at the place called River Inn,
Okay.
north of here. It's an alternative fashion show, you know. It's fashion, but it's fashion made from anything except material like you usually use. Cotton, wool, all those things are illegal. You have to use
Illegal.
other materials, yeah, whatever you can figure out. Yeah, so it becomes really fun. Last fashion show, I was very, very impressed with some of the body paint. You know, some of the girls were painted in the most beautiful way.
Are they completely naked and painted?
Sometimes, some of them, yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
You admire women's beauty, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Magnus, thank you so much. Bye from Big Sur. And don't forget to watch our next episode, because with Rali and Rick, the adventure never stops.